you can almost spend too much time on a song. We had to draw a line in the sand and say, look, that one's done, rather than going back and revisiting. So that was, again, it was almost like a mental struggle, thinking, well, we've got some more time, maybe we can just tweak this here and this there. And in the end, that can just become, it can destroy your brain.
Ghost Cult Magazine welcomes in our old pal, Rich from Stone Broken. How are you, Rich? How's it going?
I am very well, thank you very much. How about yourself?
I'm hanging in there for the end of the
Good.
world, you know? I often joke, I was like 40 years, 50 years of heavy metal, 40 years of extreme metal, and all the plagues, famine, and war we always talked about in songs. Here it is.
Here it is.
All at once, actually. So, hanging in there, all jokes aside, because gallows humor is all we have left sometimes. I do hope you and the band and all your family and friends are well as we speak today.
At the moment, we are. I mean, me and Robin, we both came down with COVID last year, which was, pre any defenses at all, which was pretty rough. But we're all in good health right now, so that's all good.
Oh, and that's a relief to know. And yeah, we've all been going through it, and of course, people have lost lives and their whole
Mhm.
careers and everything. So on the other hand, I feel very fortunate to be able to talk to people in the music business and talk about records and this stuff, but also it's just been a very heavy time, and and now we have war for the first time. Not that
Yeah,
there isn't war all the time in certain places, because
yeah,
there is, but just yeah, this is just ridiculous and terrible. But at the same time, we have a new record to talk about, and this is a lot of fun for me because it's just we've followed your whole career. Actually, it just seems
yeah,
like we've chatted multiple times over many years, and Revelation is the new record. It's coming out April 15th, which I'm really stoked about, and gotten to listen to it early. And there's a lot to unpack. Every band is supposed to say, this is our best record, or this is our finest work, or this is we worked so hard on this. Of course you did, and I know you did. But, this does feel like a really complete record and a very strong record all the way through. And there's definitely no fat on this guy.
well, no, that's it. And I mean, trying to avoid the cliche kind of answers here, um, but we did set ourselves that challenge coming into this record. It's our third record. It's our statement record. It's the one where we kind of wanted to prove that there's more to Stone Broken than we've done already, and that's what we did, and well, that's what we aim to do the whole time going into this. So, um, a lot of pressure on ourselves, I guess, at the start of the whole process, because we totally wanted to, sort of engage a different level of sonic and dynamic on the record, and that was the hardest thing to do, was sort of keep what Stone Broken has, but then add so much more to it. That was the key, and then having a balance as well, because we didn't want to lose integrity along the way. So that was probably the most difficult thing about this record. But like you say, we left no stone unturned. We tried everything at least once. Some of it didn't work, and the rest of it's in the record.
There it is. Left no stone unturned. Puns. We've got them. Unintentional or otherwise, we've got them. Yeah, I want to single out Dan Weller, who produced the
Yeah,
record with you
yeah.
guys. And Dan, I'm a huge fan of Dan's work. I loved his music, his band work, but also like the Bury Tomorrow record was
Mhm.
phenomenal. And that also kind of was a step up for them. So Dan, I don't want to say he's the band whisperer, but he's definitely like the guy to take you over the top of where you were before.
Yeah, I mean, that's he's not just sort of a producer and a songwriter and a musician. He's also kind of a psychologist as well. He loves getting into people's minds, and I think that's probably the most important thing, is to be on the same level as the people that you're working with. And he did that from a very early stage. We met up in a bar in London initially, and we could not talk because it was so loud in there. So it was a super awkward encounter. And then, sort of a few weeks after that, he actually reached out to us again and said, "Look, I want to work with you guys. Can I come to you guys?" And we're based in a town called Warsaw. And for people that know England, and specifically the place Warsaw. That's a very brave thing to want to do, because it's not the nicest area. But he did. He came to us, and we just spoke. We just talked. Not necessarily about music or the record. We just spoke about us, our lives, who we are, what our ambitions are, what we are binging on Netflix right now. That's that sort of stuff, And then we got into it, and then it was at that point that we knew that, this guy, he's the one to do this record, because he feels like he knows us already, after a brief kind of encounter. So he kind of nested himself in the band rather than sort of worked around the band. He really got stuck in, and it was from writing sessions that we would send to him, and he would come back to us about them. He was sort of involved in the process the whole way, and we even sat in a room together and wrote some songs as well, which was amazing. We'd never co-written before as a band, and I think that really helps to unlock that next phase of who we are, and obviously his expertise in the production world they allowed us to get there at a much quicker rate than we would have if we were left to our own devices.
Right on. I'm so glad you mentioned that you got to write with him, because there are several types of producers. As a band, you have always written your own songs,
Mhm.
and at this point, you could what you want to sound like, but it's important to have that trust with somebody who can come in and collaborate with you. But also, there are other bands who need a producer to write for them. So
Mhm.
there's definitely a difference and a vulnerability. You have to allow yourself to let this person into your world a little bit. It's great that you got on. That's important, but it's also great that you trust each other, because it's hard to give up your baby, when it's your
It is,
music.
and that was one thing that we had to kind of get over. Like I said, this was completely new to us. We'd never co-written with anyone before, and he understood that that was the case as well. And he kept reiterating, this is your record. You need to have the final say on this sort of stuff. He's only here to guide us and to get the songs to where we want them to be. And it was a very collaborative experience. He would come in with a few ideas, and we would embellish them together, and vice versa. And it was a very good way of working. And like you say, no one came in and just said, this is how we're doing it. You're going to play this song. You're going to sing these words. And it was nothing like that. It was very much, let's get in the room and literally and get our heads together. Let's join forces on this. And that wasn't for every single song, there are, the majority of the songs were written prior to these sessions, but in the whole process, COVID actually dropped right in the middle of it, so we had to have a break anyway. We had to go our separate ways, and that was when we did more writing. And then when we joined back, I feel as though we had a much better record for having that break, for being able to refocus, and then when we got back in the room, it all just kind of came together with 4 additional tracks, one of which being Revelation, the title track.
There you go. It's weird. It's such a strange, or maybe it's not strange, but it's such a singles and streaming focused world. And
Mhm.
here's your band that you continue, like, we're gonna put out whole albums and not too many, EPs, but we're always gonna write a full complement of songs. Are you ever tempted to just say, hey, let's just put this out, a one off here and there, with the whole sort of industry going this way, and vinyl is backed up, even though your
Mhm.
bundles are on time apparently. Yay!
we had
Uh,
to fight for that, though. We had to fight for that one.
I'm sure. I'm sure we're all struggling to get our merch out, because
Yeah.
of Adele.
Yeah.
Nothing against Adele and her awesome album, but I'm still wondering. I appreciate her. I don't know why she needed a million sides of vinyl. She sold most of them already, which is insane.
Well,
Um,
that's
Maybe that's why.
yeah.
In the years between her albums, I don't know what she's up to, 35, 40, whatever it is, she put out like a double vinyl. But yeah, we're all trying to get our music out, but it is a weird kind of time, to put a full lengthy album out.
Yeah. I mean, um, the reason behind that, I guess, is because um, we did a lot of touring off the back of the last record. Yeah, we visited the States. We did the whole of Europe, and more than once. And then we kind of had a 2-year cycle on that record. So we felt it was time to give people a lot of content, so an album made sense for us. But I think going forward, like you say, as things are changing, I think it's probably more important for us to almost drip feed music and keep people entertained that way. You know, rather than sort of waiting for 18 months to 2 years to drop a whole load of stuff. Why not just drop a track every sort of 6 months or so? You know, it's one of those, and it's something that we're seriously considering. We've spoken to our label about it, and it seems to be the way that things are done right now. And like you say, we are kind of traditional in the sense that we have just released 3 albums back to back in the grand scheme of things, with the obvious, you know, you drop a single, but that all leads up to a final product being the album. I think our next move would be to do a solitary song, you know, with maybe a B-side or something like that. But and I feel quite excited by that as well, because you haven't got to think too much about it. You just got to write a great song, and that for me is kind of, I feel more free doing that than a full record, if that makes sense. You know, you can experiment and you can do a lot of things within, you know, 11, 12 tracks, but to really just focus on one really good song just feels like it's going to be a good project.
Right. Less pressure for
Yeah.
sure. But also at the same time, you're a band, you've made your name on putting out these, you know, complete great records. So
Yeah.
I know it's hard to change is hard. It's hard
Yeah.
for the business, it's hard for an artist, it's hard for everybody. So,
Yeah.
you know, kudos to you for sticking your guns out. Obviously, we're not looking for something else when this record is yet to come out
Yeah.
officially as we talk, but it is an exciting time. It is an interesting time in the world. I wanted to ask you, because you guys always seem so well prepared. I don't know, you know, if you do a lot of pre-pro, like you said, you got in with Dan on the writing.
Mhm.
Do you personally just write all the time, whether it's, you know, riffs or lyrics or songs? Are you constantly working?
I mean, yeah, if you were to look at the voice memos on my phone, there's probably, you know, 500-600 of them. But I don't actively do that. It just happens in my mind. Like when I go, it's usually when I'm in the shower or something like that, and you're not thinking about writing songs or even thinking about music, that it kind of happens. But what I'll do is I'll sort of, all of those voice memos and little ideas and that sort of thing, I will keep to one side until I dedicate a chunk of time to sitting down and fleshing the ideas out and turning them into songs. And that would generally be how it goes in the run up to studio time and that sort of stuff. So we had quite a few ideas going into this record, and then we got Dan on board, and then he jumped in on that, and we chose the best ones and completed them and changed them a bit. And we did a lot of things to them in the preparation stages. Like you say, the pre-production was very much an intense sort of time for this record. I don't think I've ever worked so hard in the earlier stages of the record. Usually the studio is the hardest part. You know, it's getting the emotion there, it's getting the performances there, it's getting everything to come across. But it was actually getting the songs to a point where everyone was happy that they were as good as they could be. That was probably the hardest part this time around. And because we had a bit longer to do them as well with the pandemic and such, it was kind of like you can almost spend too much time on a song. We had to draw a line in the sand and say, look, that one's done, you know, rather than going back and revisiting. So that was, again, it was almost like a mental struggle, thinking, well, we've got some more time, maybe we can just tweak this here and this there. And in the end, that can just become, it can destroy your brain. You know?
Right, of course. You have to police yourself sometimes because
Exactly.
the urge to keep working is there.
Exactly.
Imagine back in the day when studio time was like $500,000 to make a record,
Yeah.
and technology has afforded us, if nothing else, at least a cheaper way to make, you know, similarly good quality records. So it's hard,
Yeah.
but yeah, cheers to you guys for that. So this record is on the verge of coming out, and it is killer. Like I said, I can't wait for everybody else to hear it. I felt like a little kid. That's always a good thing. Get the little kid vibes when I'm really excited to hear something, and it's just no. Like I said, there's no fat in that thing. It's really great, top to bottom. You guys are finally getting out on the road again.
Yes.
Headline tour, and then a bunch of festivals, I imagine.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, the tour has been rescheduled 3 times now, so I cannot wait to get out and play those shows finally. You know, Yeah, it's going to be the first time that we play these, the majority of these songs live. So it's going to be nice to actually get out there and play them in front of people and get their reaction. You know yourself, it's totally different to listening to a record. Going to see one of your favorite bands play the song live in front of you. So I can't wait.
Right on. And I think of your band as such a live band in general, just like that's
Mhm.
where, even though these records have been terrific, that's where it happens. I feel like that's where you guys sell yourselves and people understand what kind of band you are is when they see you
Yeah,
live. So it's going to be great for you to be back out there. I don't know if you got to do many gigs over the last couple of years, probably none or
no,
few. Yeah, it's just like everybody else. And you were at the end of your cycle or the beginning of this new one when the pandemic hit.
that's right.
Fortunately for you, but a lot of people had a record out who had a record out in 2019 or
Yeah.
early 2020. They're just like, well, what do we do now? So at least
Yeah.
you didn't
This
have
is
that problem.
this is true. We've been able to adapt to the situation because of the timing, which is good. And like you say, this is what Stone Broken do. We go out and play live shows, and we have a connection with our fans. And so the last 2 years have been tough because we've got to do that sort of 3 times in 2 years. Whereas we look to sort of tour for 4 or 5 months out of the year at the minimum. So it's been pretty rough.
Indeed, and again, my heart goes out to your whole crew,
Yeah,
your team, everybody that's, you're used to. I know for a fact for years you guys would put a whole year in on the road and
yeah,
almost and barely go home. So
yeah.
it has to be hard, and I hope we get it all back 100%. It seems like things are encouraging.
We're
It
getting
was
there.
great to get some festivals back last summer, and it looks like
Mhm.
they're all going to try to come back this year.
Yeah.
So that's great. Is there any particular gig you're looking forward to the most?
I would say our hometown show on this tour. I mean, it's difficult to beat a hometown show if I'm going to be honest. But we haven't played to our hometown crowd for 2 years now. So I'd say that one's probably the one that I'm looking forward to the most.
Badass. I hope it goes well, and like I said, it just stay cautiously optimistic and
Yeah.
not jinx it. And let's get out there and do our thing, and continue to be safe in the meantime. But yeah, it's great, man. Revelation's a killer record, and I'm really excited for you and the gang. Any what have you been beside music? It seems like I know that's what you mostly do. Did you pick up any interesting hobbies over the last couple of years? Anything stimulate your mind, a film, a movie, or anything that stands out?
I actually kind of got more into gaming. Um, and me and Robin, we started streaming on Twitch, and yeah, that was good. Again, we are entertainers. This is what we like to do. So not being able to do that, we had to find another way to do it, and that was what we decided to do. We would play Call of Duty Warzone, anything, just to and then we'd stream on Twitch, and our fans would jump into the chat, and it was cool. It was a nice thing to do. Other than that, we've just been prepping for this time now. You know, so yeah, I wouldn't say that I've picked up any new hobbies. I've just gotten more time to do the ones that I had before, which has been nice. And also, I had a niece and nephew who were very young at the start of the pandemic, and I've got to spend a lot of time with them. If I had been out on the road, then I wouldn't have gotten to spend as much time with them. So that's the silver lining for me. It's the family, and they're growing up, and I wouldn't have got to see that as much. That's It's kind of cool. So
That's awesome. I'm glad to hear it. And we got to get Stone Broken Riffs into a game soon.
we
I
have
think
this.
that.
I've been saying this for so long. Like our
Oh,
music, it just fits so well in. It would fit so well in gaming. It would. It just would.
right. It just, yeah, it makes sense. One of you game makers out there, Bethesda, somebody out there who's making games, put these guys and their riffs into a game somewhere. There's such a good crossover for metal and rock riffs into games and gaming and across whatever genre. It doesn't have to be, specific to something. I love, you know, um, Assassin's Creed Valhalla with the Wardruna music in it and Einar
Yeah.
and Viking music in there. So anything's possible.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, actually, that you say that I actually did binge play Valhalla for probably about 3 weeks straight. That was cool.
Oh man, you got to remember to get up and move every like hour and a half, 2 hours,
I
because you
know.
just get
Yeah.
you hurt yourself badly. But yeah, Rich Moss, man, it's such always a pleasure to see you multiple times over your career. We've gotten to chat. And I always appreciate you in person, over Zoom, over the phone, whatever it is. And Revelation comes out April 15th. Congratulations to you and the whole crew on this record. And yeah, man, be safe out there. And hopefully, after you get your current tours out of the way, and this summer, hopefully, get you back over here to the States for some gigs.
Um, I am hoping so. I'm hoping so. That is very much in my mind.
All right. Be well, my friend. We'll see you soon. Thanks
You
for hanging
too.
with those
Thank you
Cole.
very much. Cheers.